So this is the Joint Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure, Planning and Zoning, and Budget and Finance. So we've got a lot of folks present today. Appreciate everybody being here. We have a pretty short agenda. We have one item on it, which is the Choose How You Move fund allocation. I guess we'll say it. And we have from the mayor's office here. And I guess, is there anything you want to say before we get started and open it up to questions? Yeah. Okay. Maybe. All right, here you go.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me. First, I'll just sort of say I am joined by the Choose How You Move team who is up here, as well as our friends and colleagues from Finance and Law, and then our esteemed colleagues from NDOT, WeGo, ITS, MNPD, Planning, many of the other organizations closely involved in Choose How You Move investments in the back. So really the goal of today was to come introduce ourselves if we have not already met, and walk you through some of the materials that were put on your desks for you. I think our goal was to give you a little bit of a progress update to date. So the first thing that you'll see in front of you is just a reminder of how far we've come since 1 year ago Wednesday. As all of you know and have been invited to, we'll be celebrating the 1 year anniversary of the referendum passing on Wednesday morning. But right before you, a bit of a progress update on the things that we have achieved and what we have seen in just this short period of time. On the back of that, a reminder that the full map of Choose How You Move projects is online. We are in the midst of developing a map that will be more aligned with projects in progress. So we're moving to a system where you'll be able to track what investments are already underway, what projects are underway, what are coming soon. But right now, the map is still online of the full slate of funded projects in the TIP. The next item that you should have is an overview of our Journey Pass program. I know we've spoken to several of you about this. This program has not yet launched, but we are in the soft launch portion and already have over 2,500 Journey Pass holders, which we're really excited about, having taken over 10,000 rides. So a little bit of material about how we have gotten to this point with Journey Pass, where we're headed. This soft launch program and the first phase that we are in enables people who are already receiving social services through a metro agency to be made eligible and pick up their Journey Pass. We're doing this to make sure that we're really getting direct to the rider as quickly as we can without doing a lengthy verification process. But doing this also is allowing us to really test and pause and see the program as it grows. One thing that I'm personally really committed to and concerned about making sure is that we meet up to all of our environmental justice obligations, and that we are never giving someone an asset or giving someone access and then removing it. And so allowing us to slowly deploy the program and grow as we're able to operationally support it is a big part of that. And so while we'll be officially announcing Journey Pass later this week, we've already been underway and seeing all of Journey Pass holders actually be able to use the program on rides. The next document you'll see in front of you is a bit of a map that's curtailed specifically to the investments to date. So before this, you will see first up all of the WeGo service changes that went live on July 6th of 2025 that were funded by Choose How You Move. You will also see the $104 million capital drawdown that we're here to discuss before you, outlined both in fiber extensions, signals, sidewalks, complete streets, and then the all-access corridors we have prioritized. The third layer that you'll see here is the 11 foundational projects that were announced in March and funded through the supplemental. So before you have a couple different streams of funding that went into this, but we wanted to give you really a very specific lens into where in the county we have already kicked off investments and what they look like. The next document, it is the front side of it, and I think this is where your materials would differ if you are at large. The first side of it is an overview of the $104 million that we announced several weeks ago. So as we talked about on announcement day and sort of shared all the materials on, this was a really unique opportunity to spend cash, not a process that we have embarked on routinely here at Metro. And so many thanks go out to the finance and law teams who spent a lot of time working with us to determine what the right next steps were to go through with the cash drawdown. The money was initially appropriated in the fiscal year 26 budget. And so this was merely us calling attention to how we would spend that 104. And so that accounting is in front of you, separated by sidewalk, signal, service, safety, and all access corridors. One of the other announcements we made in tandem with this 104 is the prioritization of Gallatin, downtown, and Nolensville all access corridors to be the first places where we'll be spending our time and design expertise. So the front page does that overview of what we announced several weeks ago. This, you saw a very different designed version, but the same content from a couple weeks. So that it should not be new. Unless you are an at-large council member, on the back, what is very exciting is you actually should be looking at a very specific look of investments in your district. So we've gone through and we've pulled together all of the impacts to your district across the supplemental, the foundational 11 projects, and then operating budget that we did over the summer, and then the 104 million that we just announced. So for all of the questions on what actually in my district is being funded, you now have that in front of you. For at-large members, happy to, of course, talk to you about getting you information in a slightly different format if you'd like. But please know that we've gone through a significant process trying to prioritize and balance a couple key things. One of the first lenses with which we look at all of our transportation infrastructure investments is through safety. And so keeping in mind where are areas of the high injury network that we can really focus our investments on. Another is, of the 104, it was really important to us that we find a way to balance short-term investments that could break ground most immediately with longer-term planning that we needed to kick off. And so while you'll see that sidewalks and traffic signals are things that you'll actually be able to touch and feel in the coming months, spending on new operations and maintenance facilities or transit centers or all access corridors, a lot of that is planning money that you initiate now and sort of touch and feel in the years to come. So that 104 is really meant to advance short, medium, and long-term priorities. And with that, happy to defer back to the chair.
All right, thank you. Are there any further updates? I know we've got several people from the administration here. I just want to make sure that there aren't any additional. Okay, great. Well, now we will move to questions and answers. I assume I saw a hand from Chair of Budget, Ms. Toon. Okay. All right. If everybody could just throw up hands. Okay. Councilmember Parker, Councilmember Suara. Okay, I've got Parker, Suara, Toombs. Anybody else want to get in the queue at this point? All right. Member Huffman. Anybody else? Okay. Councilmember Toombs.
Thank you, Chair. I have 3 questions that will probably go to different folks. I see some WeGo folks in the audience. One, timeline on these projects. Are these projects, if I'm looking at the District 2 stuff specifically, are these projects for the 104 million, is that the sole source for these projects? Or are we dependent on other funds for these projects to come to fruition? And then the last question I have, we've been getting a lot of emails about freezing fares for folks because of the pause on SNAP benefits. And so I wanted to hear from WeGo if there's any initial discussions to see if that's feasible.
Hello, this is Sabrina Sussman from Choose How You Move. Timeline on the projects initially, so it does depend, Councilmember, on the projects. I think when it comes to sidewalks and signals, we are hoping for, in some cases, groundbreakings in the coming weeks and months. The longer term projects like all access corridors, the thing that this money kicks off is planning. And so while you won't see construction, being able to initiate some of that work again in the coming months. We're in the process now, and happy to pass it over to Derek Haggerty if he'd like to dive into more specifics, but initiating POs and getting some of the work moving on those. I think on funding, it also, hate to say it, but it does depend on the project. So there are some cases where perhaps for a sidewalk, the 104 will fund construction, but perhaps we've done planning using a different source. And there are some cases where both planning and construction will be funded out of the 104.
Chair, if I can follow up on those two responses before we get to the last question that I had. Is there a goal for completion of the projects? Because what I'm thinking about is I tell my constituents, hey, look at all this great stuff that's coming, and it's, 5 years from now. Like, is there a goal for these, a goal date for these projects to be completed?
Yeah, I mean, my goal is as soon as possible, right? What I'd like to be able to tell your constituents is that for the things that we're breaking ground on, like sidewalks and traffic signals in the coming months, that we turn around and then do a ribbon cutting, right? Again, I think goals for the all access corridors and where you might see a completely reformed streetscape on Nolensville, that's much further out. But our goal is to spend this 104 quite quickly and then come back and be able to say we're ready for the next set of capital projects. Is that helpful?
Vaguely. And I know you can't give me like by January 1st, 2027, but if you can say, in an ideal world, we've completed these projects in 3 years, just something something concrete.
Yeah, I mean, I think the timetable, again, for sidewalks and signals is much shorter than that, right?
Okay.
So we're not making, for the mileage and the 115 traffic signals that are in this tranche, right, we are looking at this year.
Okay. All right, Chair, I'm ready for the third question.
I'm sorry, council member. I can also speak specifically to your list in District 2. So I'm Michael Briggs, Deputy Chief Program Officer for Choose How You Move. So looking then at your list, sidewalks and NDOT may want to chime in on this, but each of those that are identified are funding construction phases with it. So that would be sooner in the timeline, and they may be able to give you a specific time frame. And then if you look at signals, we have like a small chart, so you have a better understanding of what's being funded with the phases. So the green is indicating what's being funded with this funding. And so the green is getting Clarksville Pike, for example, all the way up through network hardware deployment.
Okay.
Thanks. I think you had sort of two questions, but and I don't think the second question you asked got answered.
The second question was, are the funding source, is it solely the 104 million? And the answer was that there may be some projects where there's some other monies pulled in.
Okay, I was thinking about the SNAP benefits.
That was the third question.
Oh, that was the third question. I miscounted. I'm so sorry, Chair.
No problem.
And so, but I don't want to interrupt your line of questioning.
I think I'm good on the first two. I'm ready to hear if there's been any discussions regarding the pausing fair.
All right. I think I see representatives, multiple of them, we go back there, and sir, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Steve Bland, CEO for WeGo. Actually, kind of touching on Sabrina's point, we think the best approach is the accelerated deployment of the Journey Pass program. That really can put it in the hands of folks who need it. And Mayor O'Connell's asked us and the mayor's staff and social service agencies to prioritize folks who've lost SNAP benefits in distribution of those passes. Going universally fare-free, frankly, raises a whole lot of issues. Apart from the revenue loss, which would be about $8 million on an annual basis, we would incur additional expense. We need to deploy additional security, more operations. What we see when we do a limited free fare, like the Sunday sponsorship that the Titans are doing for their home game days, is about a 25% increase in ridership. And if we start to layer that on to days when we have peak rides, school trips, what have you, and buses are already crowded, it means essentially we'd be leaving people standing at the curb. So with the mayor's office, we would agree that accelerating getting the journey pass in as many folks' hands as possible is the best approach to that.
So when you talk about prioritizing or accelerating the deployment of the Journey program, and I may have missed it when Ms. Sussman was talking about it, but can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, and Kendra or Amanda may want to speak to it as well, because I know there's a schedule of events through our social service partners that are coming up as early as this week. Sabrina mentioned there are already over 2,500 in circulation. That number increases daily. And there is a website available for folks who can see where that'll be where they can be distributed.
All right.
Kendra, do you want to chime in?
Kendra Apquist, also representing the Choose How You Move team. Just to add on to what Steve mentioned, if you look at your Journey Pass council fact sheet, you'll see on one side the currently scheduled events where individuals can register for the program. As you can see, currently we're partnering with Metro Social Service, Metro Action Commission, which is an agency today that actually uses SNAP eligibility as a mechanism for verifying participation in their programs, as well as Metro Public Health Department. I'll note that the WIC program has considerable overlap with the SNAP program, so we know that we're capturing a significant population there as well. Within the coming weeks, we'll also be rolling out partnerships with Office of Homeless Services, the MNPS Hero program, as well as the Davidson County Sheriff's Office. And as Sabrina and Steve mentioned, that list grows daily to some extent. That's based on capacity of the departments that we're partnering with and when they can have staff available for on-site and in-person registration. And then concurrently with that, we're looking to have sort of more of a ongoing registration process where anyone can come and register for the program.
All right. Thank you. Chair has said we can move on. So, and circle back to her. Next in the queue is Councilmember Parker. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a number of questions, but I'm going to try to just stick to two. If we get through a round of everybody asking questions, I might ask that you come back to me for some others. So one of the things I was really excited to see in the $104 million is airport service improvements or perhaps planning for improvements. I just wanted to hear a little bit more about that and sort of how is that process working? Will the public have any opportunity for feedback in that process? And then do we have a sense of timeline? I mean, I think the most critical upgrade we could do is just frequency. Like even if we changed nothing about the approach right now, if we just got the frequency up, it would be a lot more usable. But I also think we could really gain some ridership with increasing the visibility. So, when you park at one of the lots, the buses, they're right out front to take you to the parking lot. I think if we could find a way to get the WeGo bus out front, more people would be aware of it and they would see it. Maybe they see it while they're, using another mode, and then next time they know it's there and they know it's convenient. So that's the question, sort of how's the process going to work? And then how far are we from actually seeing improvements to either frequency or visibility of the system?
I'm happy to chime in, and then I think, Steve, if you want to jump in as well. I know that I speak both for myself and the mayor when I say I think there's a lot of enthusiasm around the idea of increased frequency. So what I'd say is you see sort of a line item there in the 104. We haven't actually had an opportunity. I have not had an opportunity yet to sit down with Doug and his team. But you have the commitment from myself, from Steve, from the mayor, that sitting down with Doug and really figuring out what this looks like in all of the matters that you've raised is a big priority. But Steve, I don't know if you want to speak to anything else.
I'll get your mic on in just a second, sir. I just wanted to note too that Mr. Crudlin is here today, which I appreciate. So he's certainly welcome to jump in at any point should he want to. And Mr. Bland, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, just a quick description of what we have now. What we have running to the airport is our 18 airport via Elm Hill Pike route. It runs, to the council members' point, only runs between 45 and every 45 and every 60 minutes during the day on a daily basis. Total, the route carries about 500, 550 folks, and of those, about a third are getting on or getting off at the airport. Off of both survey data and fare data, it's about half and half travelers, half airport employees. In the Choose How You Move program document, so in the program document that went to the voters, excuse me, a focus on airport service was a big area of emphasis. And to the council member's point, that includes an extension of our 55. So essentially from downtown to Donaldson Pike, the 55 Murfreesboro Pike, by far our busiest route, would double in frequency. So it'd go from about every 10 minutes to every 5 or 6 minutes. And then every 15 minutes, it would operate into the airport. So there'd be a direct linkage from the southern end of downtown. In addition, we're looking at an extension of the 52B Nolensville Pike that currently turns around at the Sheriff's Complex out on Easel Pike. That would extend into the airport as well. That'll become important too, because we also know that Second Harvest is opening a new facility along that routing in the next couple of years. The 18 itself would get improvements in frequency. It would move from every 45 minutes to every 30 minutes. And there would be a new crosstown connection created, starting at the airport, serving the transit center. We're in the process of designing at Donaldson Station, so direct connection to the WeGo Star Donaldson Station, and then on to the Opry Mills area via McGavick Pike, so providing that part of the city with coverage as well. So right now, when the plan is fully built out, that would take bus volumes from about 1.3 an hour to about an 11 per hour. Certainly anyone coming into town, frequency-wise, it'd be a viable connection. You have a number of alternative ways to get there, but even just the 55, which would be the backbone route and the most direct service, would be every 15 minutes. And as Sabrina mentioned, we've certainly been in a very collaborative working relationship with the airport to figure out how all that can work logistically and in phases. How quickly? Right now, so the primary, for lack of a better word, delay in a lot of what I'll call our peak hour service expansion. What you've been seeing added up to this point is off-peak, so midday, evening, weekend frequency improvements on routes is really fleet availability. So we'll get the first slug of expansion buses into service for first quarter next year. So we're envisioning kicking off that 55 extension as early as July of next year.
Councilmember?
Thank you. I guess on the airport service, if Mr. Crayland would like to provide any kind of context or update about where the airport is at, it would be much appreciated.
All right. I'll recognize you, sir. I know you've got a lot of things going on out there. I saw a big expansion just hit the news as well. So,
from the airport perspective, as mentioned, we do have a collaborative arrangement with WeGo. And then Sabrina and I are still planning to get together in the future. For the airport authority, everything is about modeling. We model jets coming in and out, and we model traffic coming in and out. And as an example, WeGo is just one of 683 vehicle operators that operate in and out of the in and out of the airport. On a day-to-day basis, we'll have 23,222 vehicles come in and out of the airport, and today we're at 22 WeGos, one an hour. And so for us, as WeGo and Choose How You Move wants to expand the service to the airport, for us it's about modeling. So we built the facilities to be able to have vehicles come in and out, and I think that's where we'll get the most bang for our buck. We also understand that WeGo wants to use some of their funds for advertising in the future to advertise the services out there. I can't use airport funds to advertise for the buses, but if this is part of the Choose How You Move program, I think that would be especially important. But we're modeling how the aircraft operates today. We're modeling for what we're currently building, about 2.96 billion of improvements, and we'll continue to work with Metro to figure out how to better support increased services of the bus.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilmember?
Thank you very much for those updates on the airport stuff. And the second question I had is just about another thing that's included in the drawdown is the Maine Gallatin project. Kind of before we knew what the results of the election were going to be, NDOT was leading a pretty, I wouldn't call it aggressive, but a very active series of meetings, community engagement. People got kind of used to a rhythm of hearing updates and seeing meetings about that pretty frequently. And then we haven't had that for, I don't know, the last year or so. And I know that there's been some kind of, okay, what changes about the approach? What changes about how we engage folks? And just one of the biggest questions I'm getting right now from people in the community as well as business owners on the corridor is, when's the next meeting? Like when are we going to go back to the community and say, okay, here's where we are. Here's where the plans are. Here's how you can engage. If you could just give us a little bit of information about the timeline on Maine Gallatin, I'd appreciate it.
Is it, says you're on.
Test, yes,
Oh,
I
there
am.
you go.
There's no light. Thank
There's
you.
no light.
Good question, Councilmember Parker. So you're right. We did, with the passage of Choose How You Move, we're reexamining how the Gallatin, Maine project fits within the whole program. The desire is to bring that section up to 30% design, and the NDOT team has been working on that. We've recently revisited that approach to see, kind of check back in on where the need for that project initially started. And a lot of that centered around safety, particularly pedestrian safety in that area. And so NDOT is going to be looking at that and trying to deploy some interim improvements in the meantime. And then based upon that work coming up to 30% completion, beginning to look at the entire segment, which is a local street from 5th Street up to Briley Parkway, and begin the planning, full pre-project development stages of that.
Councilmember?
Thank you. And I know that NDOT will be doing this as they always do, but just making sure that folks in the community have an opportunity to weigh in on where and what those interim improvements might be. I could probably send y'all over a binder full of suggestions that I've heard over and over and over again from folks who live or hang out on the corridor. Chair, thank you. I'm just going to focus on those two questions for now, but if we make it to a second round, if you could add me to the second round of questions. Thank you.
Got it. Councilmember Suarez, recognize.
Thank you, Chair. I think the bulk of my question has been answered, but I just want to rephrase in another way. The one that I'm concerned about is the Journey Pass program again, just like Councilmember Chum said with the SNAP program. But looking at the flyer here, it says that what happened in September is a soft launch and that there will be a broader or more use of it in 2026. So in light of what's going on now, are we anticipating, rather than waiting till 2026, to now actually do more right now because there's more need right now for it?
Great question. So a couple of things. We are officially launching Journey Pass on Wednesday. So in the last couple of weeks, since in September, we've been onboarding folks really, again, slowly, just to sort of get the pieces moving, making sure that we're getting the operational elements of onboarding folks and getting them using it in a way that we're able to measure capacity and all of that. What will come starting Wednesday is we'll be onboarding new agencies within Metro who can have people who receive services from them actually get onboarded onto Journey Pass as well. And so what you will see is instead of just 3 agencies, we're adding an additional 2, I believe, on Wednesday. So starting on Thursday, we will have 5 Metro agencies for whom their clients, their recipients will be able to get Journey Passes. We'll continue to grow that across the rest of 2025. In 2026, what we'll be looking at is providing an income level that would allow individuals to verify and then receive a Journey Pass outside of receiving services from a Metro agency. So part of the expansion we've done in the last couple of days really focused on SNAP is saying who's the right agency to help us get SNAP holders in front of us, get Journey Passes. So that's MAC. And really working to add a couple more events and a couple more opportunities for community-wide onboarding specific to SNAP. And then again, in 2026, you'll see a transition where you won't necessarily have to go through an agency where you're already receiving services. You'll be able to go through and verify your income and receive it in that way once we've determined what that income level is.
Thank you. And so I guess my question is in terms of the budgeting and the funding for it. We're now ready to move some of that funding to 2025 and not wait till 2026, considering that there's now a whole lot more need in 2025.
I mean, I think that we're happy to fund as need unfolds. And so what we've already started to learn, I think just in the last month or so, seeing 25 pass holders, taking 10,000 routes, all of this is part of the data analysis that goes into how quickly can we onboard net new agencies, how quickly can we go to income verification. There isn't a financial barrier today at making that change, but it's really about being able to assess the program, the way it's unfolding, our ability to meet that and sort of the operational capacities.
Thank you. I want to applaud. It's a good program. I'm for it. I just don't want us to let the planning take so much time that we have people that are in need right now and we're waiting till 26 to accelerate. So I hope that we'll rush it up and get it going. The second one that I have also has to do with the WeGo expansion. And I think that WeGo mentioned something about that as well. But in looking at the 104 million projection, it's saying that these buses will not be available until 27, 28. And so I'm just concerned about that because a lot of the Choose How You Move relies heavily on WeGo and the availability of the services and expanding those services. So how are we doing that, waiting till 27, 28? How does that make it available now as something that is needed?
Excellent question. So the 104, that allows us to place another order, and those will be delivered in 27 or 28. But we actually are imminently in receipt of new buses that we had placed an order previously. Bus acquisition takes a really long time, and so you sort of put aside the money now and expect delivery of the bus in years to come. So there will be buses before the buses that we will get as part of the 104. Steve?
Thank you. And I did hear that the Nolensville corridor will be a priority, right? Awesome.
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
We're very excited about that.
All right, thank you. Sorry for the feedback. I've tried to turn every possible mic up here off to stop that from happening. It's not, so I'm really sorry if that's hitting folks' ears at home in here. Next in the queue is Councilmember Huffman. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. So first off, really good to see the $104 million invested in capital projects. My question is around the total to date that has been raised by the sales tax. I don't know if anybody has that info, but that would be interesting to compare those two numbers.
I'm happy to pass this over to Amanda Deaton-Moyer.
Hi there, Amanda Deaton-Moyer with the Department of Finance. If you can give me about 3 minutes, I can give it to you. I do have the previous fiscal year, but it would be easier for you to have the year to date, and so I can get that to you.
That's my only question. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Just let us know when you have that and we'll pop you back in. All right, next in the queue is Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you, Chair. I have several questions, so I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. Earlier, I believe it was Mr. Bland mentioned that there are days where I believe it's like the Titans or the soccer team, that there is like free fare for those events. Is that being paid for by those teams, or who is paying for that cost?
Let's see, Mr. Bland.
I'm seeing a head nod, yes, so I'm good with that.
Yeah.
If that's,
Mr.
okay.
Bland, for the record, would you like to answer that question?
Certainly. So in the case of the Titans sponsorship, that's system-wide free fare on their home game Sundays. The Titans are paying us for the full loss of fare. For Nashville SC, fares are free on their home game days on the two routes that come closest to Geodis Park. They are also reimbursing us for that fare loss.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate that information. My next question is, what does the Journey Pass registration look like?
I'm happy to jump in, and then Kendra, if you want to, or do you want to just go?
So the actual registration, Kendra Ackwitz from the Choose How You Move team. The actual registration today is managed by the WeGo team, and we're asking for the same inputs and information for every Journey Pass recipient. What is different from one site to the next is perhaps the different processes that are identified by the departments to help verify that they are participating in a program. But what the actual Journey Pass registration looks like is once an individual has been verified as receiving services or participating in a program that is currently administered by Metro departments that have been onboarded. So that's kind of step one, is verification. And then the second step is essentially inputting the individual's information. So first name, last name. Typically, we're looking for an address and a phone number and or email address. So that core information.
Okay, thank you. For the sake of time, I will wrap up with just one final question, suggestion, and then if there's time, I would love if you could circle back to me. The people, it's really important that we work with communities when we are like launching these programs so that we could be thoughtful about the rollout, and people that are closest to the problem often have the solution. I'm really concerned that of the outreach events, they are all during the day, and many SNAP recipients work during the day. So none of these events are after 4 p.m. Many of these are from 10 to 1, 9 to 1. A person that's working is going to have a really hard time accessing these events. So that's very concerning. I really, really appreciate the work that y'all are doing to extend these services to our constituents. But I do think that we have to be thoughtful in like what that rollout looks like. And many times, like government's just slow, like just being real, like we're really slow. And we're in the middle of a crisis like right now. So we have to figure out how we can meet the needs of our constituents right now. And we really, the next one is like November the 6th and then November the 13th or 14th. Like what happens to people that can't get to those things that are having to work, and they are also now having to choose between bus fare and paying for their food if they are a SNAP recipient and they don't have the money. So my question is, why can we not auto-enroll people that are already the recipients of these programs? And the suggestion that I made to WeGo was, I know we have to be really careful about data sharing, but if MAC and the Social Services Department or MDHA, if these entities have lists of people that are receiving services from them, why can they not just be auto-enrolled in the program so that they can go ahead and start using it? If that is not an option, why can't we have individuals showing their SNAP card as a way to be able to ride at least through the month of November while we are trying to work on a better system?
All right, thank you, Councilmember. And just to echo that, I know there are a bunch of restaurants around town who are doing that. If you have an ID and it matches your SNAP card, you just get a free lunch at that restaurant. So that's certainly something that I know we have seen in the community and is a path that some folks are looking at. Councilmember Gadd, you are next in the queue. Oh, it was a question. Oh, I thought you said you had a comment and then you were, okay, I'm going to turn it back to them. Yeah. Okay. Oh, hold on. Sorry.
I want to restate the question to make sure it is very clear. Why can we not auto-enroll people through the partner agencies? This question number one. Why can the agencies not, I know we have to be careful with data sharing, but why can't the agencies look at their list of individuals and either enroll them or, if MAC says we have 1,000 recipients, then we go provide them with 1,000 passes or whatever that looks like. And then the third question is, why can they not show their SNAP card to ride through the month of November while we are trying to work on a better solution?
Gotcha. And apologies for...
It's all good. Thank you, Chair.
Who would like to take that? Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember. We actually spent a lot of time talking about the words auto-enrollment because I think when there is a physical product that someone has to be handed and sort of that they use, auto-enrollment is a bit of a misnomer in some ways. being able to actually visibly see someone and say, oh, you already have a quick ticket, we can convert that into the Journey Pass, or maybe you don't have a quick ticket, we're issuing you a new one. I think we are moving in person at these registration events as expeditiously as we can to ensure that there isn't a lot of paperwork, there isn't a lot of holdup, but that sort of touch is what allows someone to walk away from the event with their Journey Pass, right? That there is this sort of physical process involved in that. I think we certainly on the data sharing piece is just another area where I think we have spent a lot of time talking about that exact challenge, right? Is there an opportunity where you're taking a long list of people with some personally identifiable information and preloading or pre-registering them, being able to protect that data, being able to ensure that no agency is being put in a position where they have to release data of their users is an issue of respect and concern, I think one that we felt really strongly about. I think the third piece was sort of the showing your snap card. I'm happy to let WeGo sort of take this, but in general, being able to make sure one of the things we talked about in the evolution of Journey Pass is, does your quick ticket look any different? And we felt very strongly as a team that the answer to that be no, right? That there is concern around ensuring that people do not feel shame as being a member of this program. And frankly, given the politicization of SNAP right now and the broader, I'd say one thing I would think about is really a hesitancy to sort of do that to get on the bus. I'll defer again to WeGo if they want to talk about the need to sort of continue data analysis on ridership. But just one thing that I think we've all talked about is how do we make sure that we're not furthering stigma or concern in that way?
And Councilmember Porterfield, I'll just also share a few additional points that I think are of note. There is still an administrative cost associated with issuing Journey Passes. And so while I think we all agree that individuals who have a severe need right now are highly likely to ride the bus, there are also people who we might register for the program and give passes to who will never use that. And that still does come with a cost of administration. And so I think we want to be mindful of that as we grow the program, as Sabrina mentioned before. I think another challenge, in addition to data sharing that we are running into, is every single support services program has a different type of interaction with its customers. So some have a case management structure where there are recurring touch points with an individual. Others have a one and done. And so I think we're trying to be very mindful of creating consistent processes to the extent we can across all of those programs, but still allowing for customization. The last thing I'll note is that having in-person registration, I think, is really important for educating users on the bus system. So teaching people how to ride the bus, how to get around town, what different routes and service times look like, and having that in-person interaction, I think, really empowers the individual to take advantage of the system. And then it also allows us to expose new riders, new customers of the system to the WeGo Code of Conduct. So something that's really important associated with the Journey Pass program is actually agreeing to abide by the WeGo Code of Conduct. And so having that in-person registration touch point really allows, I think, for emphasis that that's an important part of participating in the program and supporting a pleasant and positive experience for all riders.
Thank y'all for that. Just real quick follow-up. I really do appreciate not wanting to attach a stigma to individuals that may be receiving SNAP benefits. I also believe that if a person is in a position where they are having to choose today between riding a bus to get to work and paying for food, I am pretty sure that there are people who would appreciate the elimination of the red tape to be able to immediately access that. And if they choose not to, they still can go through the typical Journey Pass process. I think that I appreciate how thoughtful you all have been. So I just really want to acknowledge that and put that on the record. I believe that y'all have been so thoughtful in this process. And when we started this process, no one really knew that we would be where we are today. Many people speculated it and tried to warn the world, but here we are. But we did not know that we would be here. And on a typical ideal situation, I think this rollout is understandable, but we are not in a typical time when people are losing their food benefits. So I am going to challenge you all and push back on what you all are doing. I appreciate what y'all are doing, but we have to find a better, faster, more comprehensive way to roll this out to individuals who need to be able to ride the bus at no charge, especially during this time. We can, whatever additional logistics we need to figure out after this time, great, but during this time, we have to prioritize this. That may look like canvassing the community. Do we have WeGo employees or MDHA employees or whoever that can actually go into public housing and knock on doors and try to sign up residents? Like, how do we get to the people as quickly as possible to get them signed up? And you don't have to call on me again, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I would also challenge us to think about not just the cost of things like free fares, but the benefits and what does it cost to actually charge a fare? What do our payment systems cost us? What does administration of those payment systems cost us? Because it's not just a net loss, there are gains too. And I think we often in government don't think about efficiencies as much as we do some of those costs. Next in the queue is now Councilmember Gadd. You're recognized. We will maybe get to Councilmember Gadd.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Amanda Deaton-Moyer, Department of Finance. From inception to date is about $96 million.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Gadd.
Thank you so much. Actually, my colleague, Councilmember Porterfield, asked a lot of my questions, specifically on the urgency, and I think the last question she asked was additional consideration on the upcoming outreach events, and I'd love to know when we think we would get a follow-up on that, and if you all could let us know. I know today's Monday. The first event is on Thursday during work hours, and would just love to know. I've got another question after this, but would love to know when the team that's present here thinks that they'll be able to respond with additional feedback for the question that Councilmember Porterfield had asked.
Kendra Apquitz from the Choose How You Move team. So I did fail to recognize that we had received Councilmember Porterfield's excellent recommendations about scheduling after hours events. That's something that we're actively working on. And so I am confident that we can give you all an update with hopefully some additional dates by the end of the week.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I know we will all look forward to that so we can share that. I'll echo the sentiments have been shared saying thank you so much for the amazing work being done and then understanding the urgency and crisis that many constituents and some people who aren't constituents but simply are going to be experiencing this and experiencing a lot of fear and crisis right now across the county. With that, I do have a question. So each one of the agencies regarding the Joint Journey program, each one of the agencies listed here, MAC, Public Health, Social Services, and some of the other community activations, what communication are each one of these sending out to get folks enrolled directly from their programs? And does all that enrollment have to happen in person? The second part of that is probably a reminder from what you've just shared earlier, but I would love to know what direct communication, because that kind of, if it's coming directly from them, from the agency to someone who utilizes their services, that's not data sharing, right? That's them communicating to someone that uses their services, like, hey, this is how you need to go forward, and how are we doing that?
Great question, Council Member. So in terms of what communication and notification of residents and potential customers looks like, we've created a toolkit. We're actually updating that sometimes multiple times a day with new information about additional events that have been added. That toolkit is then distributed to each of the departments who are serving as hosts of events. And then for the community activations, that'll sort of be more of an all hands on deck approach. But then we are leaning very heavily upon the departments who are hosting the events to help communicate with their customers. So they have that existing relationship with their customers. They've built that trust. They have that rapport. They have their contact information. And so typically those departments are either using newsletters, sometimes social media. They might be posting flyers in actual facilities. So we're really leaning on those departments and how they know how to reach their customers best.
I appreciate that. And if I could have one more moment as a follow-up there, Madam Chair. So is the administration directing these agencies that it has authority to direct to reach out via mail or other ways that they typically reach out to contact the clients for program updates? Or is it just through the toolkit and each of the departments are just, we're relying on them to do the communication that they usually do? But is there a follow-up from those departments saying, who have you contacted? Who have you reached? Just curious.
We've had, I would say, resounding success with each of our events. So many of our events, and I have to give a huge shout out to the WeGo team, specifically Zeta Riggs and her customer service team. We're registering hundreds of individuals. So for some of the MDHA activations, we're seeing 200 and 300 individuals actually register for the program just over a 2 to 3 hour time period. We are not necessarily asking departments for confirmation as to how many individuals they believe they've reached. That's something that we can start requesting of those departments to the extent they can provide that information. To date, I am aware of social media, electronic newsletters. We are potentially exploring the use of a texting system for one particular department. And then, as mentioned, sort of physical collateral and signage and facilities are what we're hearing. And then, of course, website. But we welcome suggestions as to better ways to get the word out.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. You have.
If there's time for one more question that's not on this program, thank you so much for that. But this one also can be a follow-up from anyone that's present here to follow up with me if we don't have time. But switching a little bit to gears here on the Charlotte corridor for our Choose How You Move program. Do we have a date or update? I know it was supposed to be, I asked a while back on some updates that we may see in District 24, and just curious of when we may start having conversations in the community for that area as well. A Charlotte corridor, Harding, Pike, and White Bridge. So if that's a follow-up, those would be all in District 24. So thank you so much.
Who would like to take that?
Hi, Councilmember. So on Charlotte, there's several things that are identified in Choose How You Move, including the all-access corridor from downtown to White Bridge, the transit center in that area, and then as you get west of White Bridge, a complete street project. Most of that is longer-term planning that still needs to be done in order to kind of lay the foundation of that work. It is envisioned that the Charlotte all-access corridor, because it has pretty constrained right-of-way, sidewalks are pretty complete through there. That is a lot of lane and technology improvements in that area.
All right.
I appreciate that. I know there's more to be had, but that one's prime, and I think it's a prime one ready to go. So look forward to the follow-ups for some specific timing on some of those plans for the early next year. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Cash, you are next in the queue.
Thank you, Chair. I want to, everything Councilmember Porterfield said is a part of what I wanted to say, and I'm going to just quickly, I know we've talked a lot about Journey Pass, but I do want to reiterate that I think we can be doing better. I heard in one of the answers the words consistent process, and that's important. And I look at this schedule and I hear some of the details about how this department's doing this and this department's doing this, and I'm not hearing consistent process. I really feel like there needs to be a more centralized distribution, and these other groups are learning from that, and then they can go out and do these like special things. We've got to have some distribution in the evening, and maybe even, I don't know if any of these are, I don't know if all these are weekdays, but like weekend, Saturday at least. Like, I really think we need to think really holistically about how we're reaching people when they need to be reached, and making it easy for them. I agree wholeheartedly. It's important to avoid stigma, but I kind of think flashing a card as you get on the bus is their choice to make. And there's a stigma with coming home with no food for your kids too. So I really want us to think through these details. I know that there's been a lot of thought put into it and a lot of hard work, but I really think that there are still some improvements to be made. And I appreciate folks that were here taking the feedback that we've given to heart moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate everybody's time here, everybody's work on this, and I concur with the comments that were just made. I would say a couple of different things about the free fare ideas. One, could we do it at WeGo Central for the next 10 days from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 2 shifts, add the people in? Want something like that where people know, in addition to the sites around the county, that way people have one central location to come and get it. We'll have staff. They don't have to travel around or go to other sites. They can be right on site and know that. So I'd like you to take that suggestion. The other thing is, Mr. Bland mentioned that on Titans Days and I know Inauguration Day, but that ridership is up 18% on those days, I think he said. And to me, that shows the demand for people needing free fares. It shows that the people who need it most use it most because they have the opportunity to ride free those days. So just without the SNAP benefits cut, that is something that we see. And also it helps other people ride the bus who need to ride the bus, who maybe don't ride the bus often. So those are my thoughts about free fare. The other piece about free fare, I'm curious, Choose How You Move funds aren't like departmental budget funds with tied to headcount, for instance. You have the opportunity to use funds and steal from fiber in order to pay for 20 days of free fare, right? So that's a budget issue that is not an issue with this, with Choose How You Move. So I would ask that you look at what the administrative costs are, what the Journey Pass costs are, and pull that out of the 96 million that has come in to date. And if you need to reduce something by 5 million or 8 million for the next 20 days, I don't think it's going to be that much, but whatever it might be, I would ask that you do that in order to fund it. I think that those three things will help us get this in people's hands the quickest and also minimize the impact as much as possible. So any thoughts on those suggestions?
Yeah, I don't know, Steve, do you want to talk about the 18% or WeGo Central?
You mean the ridership gain we see on the Sundays? It's a 25% bump in ridership over a typical Sunday.
Or the WeGo Central registration idea? I know we have talked about WeGo Central.
Technically, it's certainly feasible. That's, again, the rollout, depends on how you want to roll it out.
So I think a couple of things. One, we are working, as I think Kendra said, with Zeta Riggs on WeGo's team, who has 2 FTE who are working on this program. So right now, one of the things when Councilmember, your comment about consistent process, one of the areas where it is consistent is that agencies are not able to do onboarding without WeGo staff present, right? So part of the bandwidth and the capacity issue that we're planning around is making sure that the right WeGo folks can be on site. We are going to add evening other dates. That is a very good point that was overlooked in the first draft, and you'll see some of those coming out by the end of the week, as Kendra said. I think we're continuing to try and iterate, right? Like, this is a program that has not even launched yet. So I feel really good about the fact that we're able to sort of have this conversation about something that hasn't even really started, and learn from some of this. I think, there is a difference between capital spending on fiber and operating money for WeGo. And so I think it's not as simple as just moving things back and forth. And we're trying to do a couple things at once. One of the things that we do already do is Choose How You Move is a big proportion of operating money that goes to WeGo. So part of this goes back to how are they thinking about spending that and what some of the balancing act is there.
Thank you for that. On the head count, it's awesome that WeGo folks need to be there. I'd say it's a great opportunity to use city funds to pay people overtime so we can get these in people's hands.
Well, and I think the goal is that they won't have to be there forever, right? I mean, I think they're also, in addition to doing registration events now, they are booking training events for the month of December. So the idea here is once we're post-launch, that you're actually able to train other Metro staff to be able to do the same thing WeGo is, because you wouldn't be able to run the program full-time if you had just 2 people doing all the registration, obviously.
And I'm thinking
Can
about
I
just for the 20
Hold on
days.
just a second, Councilmember. Can I ask that y'all just use that mic instead of this mic? I don't know if anybody else can hear that, but just pass it back and forth
Sorry.
because something is up with this mic and it's it's a lot, and I hope people at home are not hearing it. No, it's not. You do not create feedback in a mic. Councilmember Benedict, sorry, back to you.
No, thank you. Sorry, and I was trying to squeeze that in there. I guess we're talking about a 20-day, period as we know right now. I think if we did for the next 7 days from the launch date, 7 days, we go central downtown, 12 hours a day, whatever staff it takes to do that, most people within that first week, I think, are going to get the bus pass that they need. We built Old Hickory Village in 4 months, a plant and over 1,000 homes. We do big things in this country, and we can do a big thing here. And I know funding is always tough, but I think, spending the first 7 days of the Journey Pass launch downtown, 12 hours a day, I think would be a great way to kick that off and get engagement on that for those who need it most right now. I want to get to my other question, which is about the airport. So I know we spent, Councilmember Parker spent some time on that. Are we looking at, he talked about frequency. Are we looking at BRT for that at some point?
Murfreesboro is one of the all-access corridors that are identified in the plan. In the TIP, the original notional schedule, Murfreesboro was much earlier. But given some of the things that have evolved in the landscape and transportation in the last couple of months, we're no longer starting on Murfreesboro, but the long-term vision for that corridor is to be able to infuse some elements of BRT.
Okay. And is there going to be a closer drop-off within the facility? That might be a question for Mr. Krulin.
Mr. Krulin, if you could just let us know your thoughts on that, please.
Yeah, the current ground transportation center that has drop-off in the back is based on the traffic modeling. Again, if WeGo goes from 1 an hour to 11 an hour, you're still a very small percentage of our traffic. And the more vehicles that come in, that park closer or for the drop-off and pickup. So all of the charter buses and the other larger vehicles, it's built for them to drop off in that location. The distances between me and the chair of the committee right now. So right now, the models don't support it. The new ground transportation center that's being built as part of the $1 billion rental car facility and all that will have all the buses moved to a farther location, but there's moving sidewalks to assist people to get there in the future. So it's more convenient, but it's about volume for us right now. 11 vehicles versus 4 million Ubers and Lyft. The Ubers and Lyfts have the closer spot because I have to push more vehicles through.
Chair, I have some more questions, just maybe 3 for Mr. Krulin. So can I direct my questions directly to him? So
If you'll just speak quick, because we still have people in the queue who haven't asked questions.
So I think, if I recall, I think 35% of the airport's revenue comes from parking, give or take?
From,
Car parking.
parking and the car parking,
Yep.
approximately.
So there's not really an incentive to improve bus ridership, public transit ridership, if your revenue is coming from cars. Is that fair?
No, because we get 1/3 of our revenue from the airlines, 1/3 from parking, and 1/3 from the concessions. And that's inside and outside. So all of our rental cars, all of our Ubers and Lyfts are paying a fee to operate in and out of there. So that adds up to part of that revenue share.
I guess what I'd like to see the airport, maybe I'll come to an authority meeting and talk to, if there's a public comment period, to talk about the need for us as a city to incentivize bus users as much as possible so that we can get them close to the drop-off. So it's convenient for people. And that includes going more frequently, of course. But once they are there, how can we make it easy for people to ride? So I think that's something to consider. And Chair, that's the extent of my questions and mostly comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Cap, you're next in the queue.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the team and so many other folks for being here today. I want to, without repeating it, associate myself with what Councilmember Porterfield said. And I appreciate Councilmember Benedict's question because it was going to be one of mine, but I might have missed it when I briefly stepped out, but I heard her ask if distribution of journey passes could be done at WeGo Central, and I didn't hear the answer to that. I might have stepped out, but is that possible, maybe at Rip Patton, two other key places in the transit network?
The short version is that we're going to take it back and take a look at what we can do this week.
Great. I appreciate that. And I have a couple other questions as well. I was very glad to hear that Choose How You Move team and NDOT is looking at some interim improvements to Main and Gallatin. Who is bird dogging that? And also, I guess, what's the process for discussing and implementing those?
Choose How You Move, the Choose How You Move team and NDOT are doing that together. I think one of the things, and I think maybe we had talked about this, one of the things that we are wrestling with that we want to make sure we make space for is this idea that initial infrastructure, making that future-proofed. Really trying to avoid the idea that a project that's already in motion that would install new infrastructure that would need to be ripped up at some point, that's really not a future that we want to continue to move towards. And so part of the pause on Main Gallatin was to have that exact conversation. To do that, that has to really be done in partnership with the Choose How You Move team and NDOT. Michael leads that on our team and Derek leads that on NDOT's team.
Yes, and I appreciate the need to coordinate that. And I was also glad to hear that you were moving toward 30% design on Main Gallatin. Do you have a timeline for when you expect that to be done?
I'll double check with a nod from Derek. I think it's almost there. Correct. Yep.
So would you be looking to do community engagement around that then when 30% design is ready to discuss?
That essentially wraps up that part of it, and I think that would become available to review and provide comment on. And then we build towards 60 and then 100%, and then also the geographic extent is kind of reset to look up towards Briley Parkway.
Thank you, Chair. That's what I've got.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Ellis, I think it's our last person in the queue, has not had a chance to ask questions. Councilmember Ellis?
Yep, and apologies for coming in late. So I just want to get clear on one thing. So I saw that we have the WeGo director here. So given our current state of affairs, is Metro freezing the fares for all WeGo riders right now?
I will let them take this. I also, I think just there's been a lot of discussion around this, so I would also encourage anybody who missed it to go back and watch that. But I'll let y'all answer that. But just wanted to make sure you knew that there had been a pretty robust conversation around it.
So that is an action that would go through WeGo's board, not through Metro. And I don't want to speak for Steve or his board, but what we talked about during the duration of this meeting was really the acceleration of the Journey Pass program for SNAP holders. And so addressing the problem through that mechanism.
Got it. So isn't that Steve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if Councilmember, would you like to direct that question?
Yeah, I'm just looking for really a direct answer, not a lot of the fluff.
All right. Mr. Bland?
Yeah, what we reported earlier is that the approach of accelerating Journey Pass delivery will be much more effective. One of the concerns we would have with a quick suspension of all fares is, number one, overcrowding, which would lead to pass subs, particularly during school hours and peak hours, and definitely a need to augment security, which has been the experience around the country. So those are things that can't be ramped up in a day or two. And the other asset with it, and I heard Sabrina mention earlier, once you take away that fare, putting it back is a real bear. So again, I think we have a great mechanism with Journey Pass to get free fare into the right hands, maximize system efficiency, and we're looking forward to working with the mayor's team on that.
All right, council members, you have more?
Yeah, so two things. I'm going to be polite. Last year in our budget, did we not grant funding for security? Wasn't there a new initiative that was funded for WeGo for police officers?
Correct.
Okay. And so why would that be an issue now if we were to ramp it up?
We would need more than what was appropriated in the past year. We expanded the security presence by about 60%, and that includes about a half dozen, I'll call them onboard, but mobile security units, and need to be a significant uptick in mobile units. And that's, again, we're taking that from national experience.
Okay, so I'll close with this because I know that we're pressed for time. So I just want to make it make sense for my residents, simplify it. So the food that Channel 5, the mayor, was helping get into Second Harvest Food Bank, if there is a mother that lives out in District 29, doesn't have gas money because she spent what she had on groceries, she can't go to Murfreesboro Pike bus station, get on a bus, go out to North Nashville at no cost and get some of the food from the Second Harvest Food Bank? Is that how this is?
I think what Mr.
Some of
Blandon, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
I was going to say, some of you all have been here a while. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what I'm walking into.
Right, and I think what we've talked about is that the ideal way to ensure that that mother is getting on the bus and is getting access to that food is to make sure she knows how she can get a journey pass because she is eligible for one. And so what we've sort of talked about are if our existing plan and number of events don't touch that mother, we're going to take back and think about other ways we can reach her this week and make sure that there are ways to do that, because you're right. The program exists to enable her to go and to ride transit, and we'd like to unlock that. So that's what we sort of discussed.
Oh, so the Journey Pass is available now?
Yes, there are 2,500 people who currently have a Journey Pass, and they've taken over 10,000 rides.
Yeah, so Councilmember, just to recap, the Journey Pass, it wasn't like a pallet, but it was a soft launch has occurred, and there are community events. And in what I think, and definitely jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but just a really short summation of what we have talked about is how to get that unrolled very quickly to more people, which is going to require scheduling a lot more meetings, potentially in off hours.
So if I could just simplify my question. So if I don't have a Journey Pass right now, could I go and say, hey, I'm a SNAP benefit recipient, not getting my money. Can I get on this bus at no cost?
If you're a SNAP benefit recipient, you can go to one of the events targeted for SNAP benefit recipients, get your Journey Pass, and then ride for free. But we're not doing that sort of at the bus driver level, if that makes sense. So that's not happening on bus boarding. There's a separate process to get your quick ticket turned on, and then you can ride for free.
Does that answer your question, Councilmember?
Unfortunately, it does.
Yeah, I know. All right, next in the queue, who has not been recognized, Councilmember Allen. Do you have any new questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be real quick. I will just say, I would just challenge all of us to cut our food budget in half until SNAP benefits are restored, and maybe that will get us all motivated to work as fast as we can. I appreciate all the solutions that have been put forth here and how hard everybody's working, and we can do it. So go Nashville. So my one question is to circle back to the airport. We talked about frequency and visibility. We didn't talk about the directness of the route. And if, I guess Mr. Bland maybe could just answer the question again. Is it possible that we will quickly move to a frequent route that is also direct as opposed to a frequent route that goes many other places before it gets downtown?
Councilmember, I had one question left on my list.
And that was it. Great question.
Yeah, when the 55 is extended to the airport, that'll be a pretty straight shot. So it'll be out of the terminal or out of the transportation center, down Donaldson Pike, right on Murfreesboro Pike and into the southern end of downtown.
And is that one slated to become an every 15-minute route?
Correct. Ultimately, so one of the other initiatives under Choose How You Move is to take core routes, our busiest routes, and have them operate 24 hours, 7 days a week. And that would also be in that list of routes as
Great.
well.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to add to that, I would encourage us to really think about what we can do to make those express routes, like true express routes, so that folks who are trying to get in and out of downtown and to WeGo Central aren't stopping up and down Murfreesboro Pike the whole way. Now, I have 3 people in the queue who have asked to be re-recognized. We are already 25 minutes over. Part of that is not. Oh, and first though, before I get to those 3 people and see if there's anything they want to add, I am going to go to Chair Toombs.
Thank you, Chair. Just one quick question about the drawdown of the sales tax revenue. Is there a predetermined schedule as to when a request will come to draw down funds, or is that based off need? If you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, while we don't have an exact date in mind, we're thinking that we will do it following the passage of an operational budget for 27. That would be the next one, and that most likely would not just be cash. That would probably be placed with debt.
Do you anticipate tying it to the passage of an operating budget, or do you plan on looking at it more frequently than that?
I think it's a little to be determined based off of spend rate. I think we want to be able to make sure that we're spending the money that we're asking for and coming back to you. We do believe that the next time we'll be ready to ask is around that July timeframe.
Okay.
But I don't want to speak to the entire 15-year program quite yet.
Okay.
I've got 3 folks in the queue who have already been recognized in order. Parker, and then honestly, Councilmember Porterfield and Suarez, your hands just like went up at the same time. I don't even know who was first, but are there any additional questions that haven't already been asked? First, Councilmember Parker, because he was there, and then I'll come back to y'all.
Thank you, Chair. And I don't need to have like a long discussion or even necessarily an answer about this, but you know, these crises come periodically. I think the last time that I was floating fare suspension was when fuel prices went up to, it was like $6 a gallon or something crazy. And I think having a plan to strategically address these, like a nutrition crisis, a fuel crisis, with just like a way to just have it kind of like, oh, the board can do an emergency vote for a 30-day suspension of fares. I think it's going to like get us a lot of good publicity for the system. Like when these things are like all anybody's talking about, and we can say, hey, our system is responding by meeting people's needs. I know we're not there. It doesn't sound like WeGo's interested in doing a fare suspension. So, I mean, from this discussion, my sense is that the compromise, the halfway point would be to, as soon as possible, get some folks at Central to accelerate the Journey Pass rollout. It seems like it's working great at these satellite locations, but just be there from morning commuting hours through evening commuting hours. Somebody said 7 to 7, just really meet people where they are. And that seems like the compromise that I'm hearing in the room. So thank you.
All right, and I would add Rip Patton as well, because
Yes.
for some people, that is their regional hub. I will go first. Councilmember Suarez, did you have anything to add that has not?
No, I think, and I'll make it quick, I think it's just the urgency of the moment, and then it feels like there was a reluctance, so we're trying to figure out whether the WeGo Central is doable or not. And I think the feeling for all of us in this room, based on what we've heard from our constituents, is that we have to just not let the red tape affect what needs to be done right now. People are hurting and they need it right now. And I want to go back to my original question that I asked about the funding and the money. This is a program that we already have IMAC for 2025 with the opportunity to expand it larger in 2026. We can accelerate the money in 26 to 25 to meet the moment, so that we can meet the people where they are. So again, I'm just reiterating what everybody is saying. Going to the bus stations makes a lot of sense because people are already there, and it allows us to meet people where they are. But there is an urgency here. And so the sooner we can get it done, we're all appealing and say, we want this done, and we want it done now. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And yeah, I'm sorry, I said Rip Patton, but also Hillsborough, because I think that's our other regional hub that we have up and running right now, where a lot of, I know, families come in and out. Councilmember Porterfield?
Thank you, Chair. These will hopefully be super quick. I'm interested in knowing who makes the final decision on the rollout based on some things I've heard today, also based on conversations that I've had with the various agencies. I've heard the mayor's office, I've heard Chime, I've heard WeGo, and it's not really clear. So who makes the final decision on the rollout of the Journey Pass?
Of Journey Pass specifically?
Yes.
So the way that it's been organized, there's a working group that sits across WeGo and Choose How You Move. There are some operational issues like a fare freeze that will go through the board of directors for WeGo. Implementation of the Journey Pass program, those strategic decisions are made out of the Choose How You Move office, obviously informed by operational restraints and capacity for WeGo. Is that helpful?
That is very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. This was for Mr. Bland. Why does it have to be a WeGo staff member present for all signups?
There you go, sir.
At the bus station, and from having WeGo employees or even council members volunteering, signing folks up? What is stopping? Why does it have to be a WeGo employee right now today?
They're the ones who've been trained. That's really actually more a program office question than it is.
Yeah, and so
for us.
what I sort of said is right now that we're running events that both have agency staff, so let's say MAC or MDHA staff and a WeGo staff person. They're doing them in tandem, but instead of sort of just saying, MDHA, good luck, go ahead and register folks, we want to actually do trainings that Zita and Steve's team is planning to do. And then longer term, you would not need WeGo staff there.
I'm still not getting an answer to the question. I don't understand why there has to be a WeGo person right now today that is signing people up, because previously
Agency staff are not trained to onboard folks into the program quite yet, that's all.
Okay, perfect. What will it take to train the agency people so that you don't just have two people that are at these events? What do we need to run Councilmember Benedict's suggestion of 7 days, 12 hours a day signing people up? What do y'all need to make that happen?
So as I said, we're going to take that back and come back to you all within the week on sort of an answer on how we're increasing opportunity to register. I think a couple of things. We have training scheduled right now in December. One of the strategic decisions that we made was rather than try and train and then get people onboarded onto Journey Pass, we wanted to prioritize onboarding events, backload the training. So we would first get folks on, and then once we've really gone through all the registration events, then turn to training. It's just a matter of capacity. So that's sort of how we scheduled it now. For the 7 days a week, all day at WeGo Central, the difference is right now, the reason why you need MDHA or MAC staff is because they're the ones certifying that the Journey Pass holder is participating in their program. So if you just walk up to WeGo Central today, the people sitting there today would not be able to certify, yes, this is someone who is enrolled in an MDHA program. So that's the organizational loop we want to close this week and get back to you with an answer on.
Okay, thank you. My last statement, that's when Councilmember Sora and myself, that's when our hands shot up when you said about the training being in December. And as everyone has already stated, there's a sense of urgency, so we have to push this up. So one of my suggestions is going to be, since y'all are talking about this week, what does it look like if residents bring proof of services to even give them a temporary pass for the month of December while y'all are doing something, trying to figure out the logistics for the longer program. So people may have a letter of certification. I mean, if you're a recipient, you have something.
That's what we're doing now, right? So it's just you need someone to receive that letter and then be able to issue the Journey Pass. The reason we were doing trainings in December, as I said, is because we wanted to maximize the amount of time that we were actually handing out Journey Passes as opposed to just doing administrative back-end training. We can accelerate some training options, right? But again, if you're dealing with the same 2-3 FTEs, you can sort of spend an hour handing out passes live or spend an hour training. So we had made the original decision to move trainings to December. We certainly can accelerate those to November.
All right, I just would note too, I've seen a couple hands fly up. I'm going to try to get you all very quickly. We're already 35 minutes behind one committee and 5 minutes behind another. So I know most of us here tonight are always here on Monday nights, so y'all are well aware. But Councilmember Gamble, you have not spoken yet, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. And just one quick question, I guess a request maybe. Can we look at how much it would cost to suspend fares for 7 days? Because it looks like there's an effort that's going to be made to increase the rollout and the enrollment for the Journey program. But in the meantime, if SNAP recipients have issues where they can't get to food banks or other places to get resources. Can we get what the cost would be to suspend fares for 7 days, like effective tomorrow, and if our metro government can cover that cost? Thank you.
Thank you. And I would add to that, like logistically, legally, like how quickly can we call a special meeting to get that done? Because I think the board would probably have to approve it.
Yes, it would be the board of directors of WeGo.
All right. Okay, I see one person who has not been called on yet. I'm going to call on her. Councilmember Gamble, did you have anything further? Okay, and I would just ask that if that y'all could email that to the council office, and the council office will get that out to folks. Councilmember Johnston, welcome.
Thanks, sorry, because I know we are running late, but it was just dawned on me. I know that we've got certain departments that have like day passes that they can hand out. We do it a lot with Office of Homeless Services and things like that. And so I'm wondering, because the shutdown could end tomorrow, right? But we've got an immediate need today. So I'm wondering if there could be like day passes that bus operators could hold for a certain period of time, maybe it's a few days, where someone shows up with their SNAP card and says, I just need to get on the bus for whatever reason, doesn't matter. And that bus operator can say, just to get us through this, hopefully this is not going to last too much longer, but in these next few days, week, 2 weeks, whatever, to get through so that these people don't have to go through the bureaucracy. Because I understand the challenges of getting your journey pass, changing from what you have now to a journey pass. And I understand we need to work on that process, but that's not helping to people's points right now where it's like, yeah, but today. And so is that possible? And then at the end of it, you say, okay, here's how many of these passes, these day passes that we have given to people as they've shown their SNAP benefits today, so that we know what the fiscal note is of what we're subsidizing. But again, it's extremely temporary. Is that feasible? So we're not worried about, well, who's trained to sign people up for this, that, yada, yada, yada. It's just, I just need to get somewhere right now, and I am a SNAP recipient.
And to that end, I think that directly addresses Councilmember Ellis's question too of how, if you're in Antioch, do you get to WeGo Central or to an event to get your journey pass?
And you wouldn't have to deal with that because the bus operators themselves would have the ability to say, this is a SNAP beneficiary who doesn't have the journey pass quite yet, but obviously is qualified. And so here is a 1-day pass or a 1 ride or whatever it is to get them where they need to go in this emergency situation.
Yep. Ms. Hussman, do you want to take that or kick it to Mr. Bland who?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
sorry.
there we go. I want to make sure I have been clear that this feedback is really important and I really appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and have a big meeting tomorrow and get through some of these and try and come back to you all with a bit of a plan. It is my urgent promise that we are going to do that. And I want to make sure I am clear that the urgency of this moment has not been lost on me. And I know that this is a moment that really changes a lot of lives, and we want to be sensitive and make sure that we're meeting the moment and also making sure that folks can get where they need to get and that I take that responsibility seriously. What I don't want to comment on, though, is adding something to a bus operator's day job. That would be inappropriate for me to sort of comment on, but I don't know, Steve, if you want to chat about that at all.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Bland?
Generally, we're certainly very appreciative of the professionalism our operators have and also the compassion that they have for folks. When we add a lot of administrative burden, it really opens up a whole can of worms. So the whole benefit, one of the primary benefits to the Quick Ticket program and using Journey Pass through Quick Ticket is it's pretty easy. Tap the card, it's green or it's red. And that's the extent of their administration. You know, we expect our operators to do an awful lot while they're navigating. We all drive through Nashville. Imagine doing that, you know, in a 40 or 60-foot vehicle with 30 or 40 people on board. So to be honest, anything that adds to their administrative burden would be very difficult.
Right, well, I think we all in this room look forward to hearing what solutions can be proposed for this time and moment, mindful that it is difficult, but we can rise to these challenges. Yeah, and to that end, I also think if y'all are meeting tomorrow, it would be great if that could be sent to the council office by tomorrow and we could get that update by then. Councilmember Ellis, I will allow you one question and then we have got to move on to other committees.
Thank you. And maybe you can answer the question, but it seems like the questions that's being asked is at an inconvenience to Mr. Bland. So has any discussion been had as to what conversations have taken place prior to today's meeting about moving folks around the city that don't have the resources to afford the fare? Did I miss that?
There was conversation around that and about the different factors that they took into account and what they've looked at. So,
But has anything been done, like any action been taken aside from this Journey Pass program that's going to be expedited?
so just to summarize, not I would say an action specifically, but certainly meetings that have been very mindful among the staff as to how to proceed in this moment.
If I can just, that is, I don't mean to throw blame on those of you that have been, for lack of a better framing, working in the salt mines. We have residents, taxpaying residents of Davidson County right now that are going without, and we are doing them a disservice by sitting in here, Mr. Bland, giggling, and not providing them with options to get to their job or get to the food that the mayor and many of us have been working to get into these food banks.
Right, thank you, Councilmember. And I would say, this is an urgent and new development. And so we're going to be respectful of the staff and we're going to give them time to respond to us by tomorrow. And with that, I think we have covered all the issues here. We're going to take a very brief adjournment as we call this to a close. And I'm going to let everybody run out in the hall, get their water, and we're going to start the next committee. Thanks.